This is the absolute best time of the year to sign up for In the Money Plus. All year, you get little digests of all the picks and extra content if you're an In the Money Plus subscriber, podcast, and extra written content as well. But right now, if you join, you'll get all of our stuff for the Keeneland meet and our entire Derby package, which is worth well more than the $15 it costs for a month of this. Check it out, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus to get involved. That's inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Great information, very reasonably priced, and a great way to support us as well. Very excited about this segment of the show because I get to bring in one of our all-time favorite guests. Man, I've had the pleasure of knowing, I think it's for nearly a couple of decades now. Been very, very helpful in my career and always a pleasure to chat about racing with a man who is as known for his writing chops as his professional horse playing ability. He is Steven Crist. How are you, Steven?
Hey, I'm great, Pete. Good to talk to you.
Wood Memorial Day. I assume this is a day over the years you've had some success and look forward to another one of the harbingers of spring, as it were.
Yeah, it really is the beginning of spring summer in New York to have Wood Day. You know, you go out there and you see people you haven't seen since Belmont closed in October. So it's always a nice social day with some good racing. The problem this year is that we've had a lot of rain already this week. There's more in the forecast tonight, tomorrow. So, you know, the one grass race that is in the pick six sequence is in a little bit of jeopardy, and I hope we don't have a sloppy track because we have some nice horses with good fast track form.
Hopefully it will come through where this pick six is in play. But hey, as a plan B, an all graded stakes pick four to close things out, starting with the Wood Memorial. But we're optimists around here. You wouldn't always know it to listen to us, especially off air. But we're optimists around here, and we're going to start off as if this pick six is going to play out as planned, and it begins in race number 6, 3:37 Eastern time. We've got a claimer for a 3 and up going 1 mile on the dirt. Steve, I'll ask you, how are we going to light this candle?
Well, I think that the first leg and the second leg, if it stays on the grass, are really the most competitive legs in this pick six. I mean, the last 4 graded stakes, you know, there's some very nice horses in there, but I don't see any live 20-1 shots in those races. Whereas this first leg, you know, you have an obvious favorite, you know, in a huge drop down. But not the kind of horse you really can trust, you know, coming off a 23-length defeat. So, you know, I think if you can get by Yankee Division, who's the 9-5 favorite on the line, there are other interesting horses, and I thought this was one of the few races where maybe you could, you know, light up the board a little with a 6, 8, 10-1 shot.
What numbers are you going to be looking at to fill that role?
I'm going to be looking at 3 horses besides the favorite. I mean, you have to use Yankee Division because if he runs back to, you know, any of the 5 of his last 7 races, you know, he'll romp. But boy, that defeat last time really puts you off without an apparent excuse. So I thought there were 3 viable alternatives. You have to use the 2 Kumar, who's not going to be much of a price. But I thought that the 2 interesting price horses were the 3 Bourbon Bay and the 8 Lost in Rome. Both are running for, you know, virtually career low claiming tags. They've been facing much better, and they have races that beat the rest of them. So I'm going to be going 4 deep in the first leg with the 2, 3, 5, and 8.
How would you grade those out into A's and B's? Will Yankee Division be more of a defensive use B, or is it really just to survive and advance, use all 4 equally race?
It's a use all four equally. I'm not going to give any extra credit to Yankee Division, and if he wins, okay, it's off to an uninteresting start.
I put him on top at the end of the day. I decided to say, hey, maybe the rail wasn't the place to be last time. He did spend some time down there. Granted, it was so bad that might not be enough of an excuse. But the other thing I was interested in with Yankee Division is I don't have stats on this, but just something I've noticed. Ray Handel seems particularly good at claiming and moving up horses with speed and can often enhance that speed. So maybe, or maybe just figure something out about what happened last time. I put him on top, and I thought you were dead on. Use the same two other runners that you mentioned. Well, actually, I didn't use Kumar. I was thinking Kumar. Yeah, I was thinking there, if nothing else, there'd be enough of Yankee Division left to take care of Kumar, and that it would set up real nice for the 8 Lost in Rome and the 3 Bourbon Bay. Lost in Rome, I thought, candidate to be the best closer, and I do think there's a scenario where this could fall apart late, or just the front runners are staggering late. And then you mentioned about the little drops too, Bourbon Bay dropping slightly, and thought might be able to trip out just in behind the speed to kick things off. So not much separating us in the 6th race at Aqueduct. We'll move on to the 7th race, the Dangers Hour Stakes, 4 and up, going a mile on the turf. And as you mentioned, Steve, this one, if it comes off, I think might be the very definition of a free square, huh?
If this race comes off, the lone main track only is a Chad Brown horse who appears to be the only horse in the race who can run on the dirt. This is a weird race, even if it stays on, because almost everyone in the race is coming off a 3 to 6 month layoff. And these are mostly the New York breds that we see, year after year in races like the Kingston, the West Point, and the A.T. Cole. They're all back after their winter freshenings. On their best day, 5 of the 7 of them, or 6 of the 8, they're like an inch and a half apart on paper. So, it's a scramble without the layoffs and without the soft turf, and with them. If it stays on the grass, I'd have to use 6 of the 8 horses in this race. I just think, separating the likes of Therapist and City Man and Rinaldi, it's very, very tough to pick them apart, and there's a ton of uncertainty. So, there are 2 horses who abjectly can't win, who are legitimately 30 to 1 in the race. Everyone else is live if it stays on the grass.
So I assume you're talking about leaving out the 2 and the 6 and playing the rest of them.
I think you have to. They've all got a figure in the 98 to 100 range on their best days. None of them clearly needs a race off a layoff. They've all run okay off these kind of layoffs. And it's funny, you can go through these horses' careers, and they come back year after year in a race like this Dangers Hour, and then move on to other things. I think everyone in here is prepping for either the Fort Marcy during the first half of May or the Kingston for New York breds, toward the end of May. So I don't think, this is the season goal of any of these horses. It's just a place to start out your campaign. And, that adds another layer of uncertainty to the handicapping. Who's really cranked and who's going to be happy to be a closing 4th.
Interesting betting strategy question. If this does come off, is your inclination between the 3 scenarios? You have 3 choices, I suppose, looking at the sequence holistically. With Southern District going and we're on the dirt, you could single Southern District in the pick 6. You could potentially single Southern District in the pick 5 and get things moving. Or you could say the heck with this and just start up fresh with the all stakes pick 4. In this spot specifically, I'm putting you on the spot here for a question I didn't prep you for, but which of those 3 options do you think you'll choose if we're off?
If we're off, I can't imagine not leaning very, very, very heavily on Southern District, who ran a race in the mud at Aqueduct in February that, is like a grade 2 dirt performance. And it's actually kind of astounding how little dirt form there is on these other horses. You have a horse like Therapist, 28 career starts, never run on the dirt. Value Proposition, 14 career starts, never run on the dirt. So are they all going to scratch? I mean, there's literally only one other horse in the race, who's ever run a barely stakes quality race on the dirt, and that's the one City Man who was second in the Albany, 2 years ago. And he's not terrible on the dirt, but I mean, if this comes off, I think you're looking at a 2 to 5 shot in a very small field.
Will you accept that in a horizontal sequence, though, or would you just say, you know what, not for me?
Well, no, I mean, people will use other horses. You're still going to, I mean, if you think Southern District has to fall down to lose, there's nothing wrong with singling a 2 to 5 shot. It still brings up the value of the ticket, maybe by only 40%, but it's something.
All right. I was going to try on the turf. I totally agree with having spready backups and whatnot, but I was a little bit interested in price talk. The final run of last year was just too bad to be believed, but easy excuse of it being too far. The runs 2 and 3 back, I thought, did give him maybe a little bit of an edge, and I thought could be an okay price. And then City Man, I think, is going to get a really nice trip forward, ground saving, and at the very least being great attacking position at the pace call. So I was going to press up the 7-1 a little. Love your idea of spreading if we are able to stay on the turf. Let's move on to the graded stakes portion of the card, starting with the race that gives the day its name, the Grade 2 Wood Memorial for these 3-year-olds going 1 1/8 on the dirt, a race that I've characterized as put up or shut up time for number 1, Mo Donegal. Steven Crist, who wins the Wood?
If I had to pick one horse, I would pick Mo Donegal. I think this is a 3-horse race, and unfortunately among the 3 favorites. I do not have a clever horse in here. I would be pretty surprised if anyone else won the race. Mo Donegal really showed his quality, winning a very good Remsen in his 3rd career start. And, some people were disappointed that he came back and ran 3rd in the Holy Bull in his only start to date at 3. But look who he ran 3rd to, White Barrio and Simplification, the Florida Derby and Fountain Youth winners. And I think the horse that won the 2 stakes at Turfway was also behind him in that Holy Bull. So, I'm not holding that against him. I think this is a 1 1/8 horse. I think this is a quality horse. And I'm really looking forward to see if he can step up and move forward. The other 2 horses in the race are obviously the 3 early voting and the 5 Morello. And I have nothing bad to say about either of them. They're both undefeated. They're both improving every time they come to the track. So, to me, those 3 horses lay over the field. But I know that's not very helpful since they're the 3 favorites.
In terms of grading them out for ticket construction purposes, would you use them equally, or is this a spot where, like I am going to do, you're going to press Mo Donegal and back up with the other 2?
I'm going to, sort of 80% of my play will be using the 3 of them equally, but then sort of extra and wacky tickets, and because I like Mo Donegal and will be rooting for him, I'll press some other combos singling him.
Gotcha. Sort of like an A+ as opposed to him being an A and the other 2 being Bs.
Exactly. An A+ and 2 legit A's.
We didn't prep for this at all. So for all you know, you haven't even looked at Keeneland yet, but I do see in post-time terms it's coming up shortly thereafter. Did you look at either of the other Crown prep races? You have a quick thought on the Bluegrass for us?
But I don't have anything clever in there either. That is a race where it's sort of, I don't think the top horses, are that much better than the others. So, that's a race where I could see, using 3 mains and 3 backups, whereas the Wood, no backups for me.
Yeah, you can definitely make the case to get a little spready. There's some interesting runners in there. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Aqueduct, race number 9, the Grade 1 Carter, 4 and up, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. This was a spot where I'm not very creative in saying Speaker's Corner looks like a horse you might be able to lean on. Kind of a standout off the recent body of work. Should get a great trip, I think, either on the lead or perhaps stalking from just off. This horse has a lot of finish for a speed horse, and I've got to imagine that Bill Mott is going to have him set to peak in the Grade 1 in the 3rd race of the form cycle. I would back up with Mind Control, a runner I've really struggled to get right over the years, but his best races just fit, and it looks like he's working well for his return to the races. And another backup I might use for a little bit less than I'd use Mind Control is the 2 Green Light Go. I just thought the last race was disappointing from a speed figure perspective, but off the run 2 back, I would have had him as a win candidate for this. The slight turn back might suit. If I was going to use anybody else, it would be the 4 and the 2. But this feels for me like 70-80% of the money goes through Speaker's Corner. Is it as simple as him, or do you like anything clever in here?
I think it's as simple as exactly what you said. The only horse I would add to those you've mentioned, I'm going to use a little bit of reinvestment risk. The one is the Chad Brown horse, who off a 9-month layoff ran a buyer figure of 103, going 6.5 furlongs at Gulfstream, and just given the fact that horses are supposed to improve second start off a layoff. If this horse improves on that 103, he's not that far off Speaker's Corner's best day. So, to me, he was the interesting horse. But other than that, as you say, I think it's all Speaker's Corner with a little Mind Control, a little Green Light Go. And I'm going to use reinvestment risk probably as, sort of my second choice in the race, because I think he'll be the best price of those 4 horses. And he's got, the sky is the limit potential. I mean, let's not forget, this is a horse who ran second in the Hopeful and the Champagne to Jackie's Warrior, who nobody was beating up to a mile in the 2-year-old season of 2020.
Excellent points. We'll go left, out to the left coast, for a very quick look at the Santa Anita Derby, a race where I've been a big Forbidden Kingdom fan for a long time. But looking at it and trying to do a little bit of guesswork about the prices, I ended up picking Taiba, the 6, in this spot. Do you have any opinion at all on the Santa Anita Derby?
No, I mean, I'm greatly looking forward to see, which of those horses goes on. But there's been just a lot of talent out there this winter. And, a horse like Taiba, I mean, could be anything, could be racing's next superstar or could be one-off. So that's really an interesting race, because my feeling is that the Derby favorites are going to emerge from these 3 races tomorrow, not from the Florida Derby and the Arkansas Derby. So it's just a good day to be a fan and an observer, and see where do we stand by Saturday night. It's going to be really interesting.
I said before on the show, low key, it's one of the best racing Saturdays of the year, because there's this exciting NCAA basketball tournament regionals feel, a little bit of April madness for horse racing.
There you go.
Let's talk about this graded stakes late double at Aqueduct. The grade 3 Gazelle is up next for the 3-year-old fillies, going 1 1/8 on the dirt. A couple of very interesting New York breds highlight the field. What's your idea of the winner?
Well, not to continue on this, chalk-eating weasel vein, but to me, the Gazelle was a race where 2 of them towered over the rest. Those 2 being, in order of favoritism, Venti Valentine, who came back off a 3-month layoff and just ran a smashing race in the Busher. I mean, it wasn't, that much slower than the Gotham. She got a 92 buyer off a 3-month layoff. And now finds herself in a field without much speed, seems perfectly suited to her just off the pace pressing style. The others are going to be coming from far back. To me, the clear second choice should be Classy Edition, who is 3 for 4, with her only defeat being a second to Kathleen O, who was so smashing at Gulfstream last weekend, and actually ran a better figure than the boys did in the Florida Derby. So, she looks a little light on figures right now, Classy Edition, but I think that second to Kathleen O and being second off a layoff, she could jump up 5 or 10 points, and I just couldn't see anyone else in the field beating those 2. I'm very confident just going 5-6 in that race.
Steven Crist looking to lock it up. I'm with you for horizontals. I actually put Classy Edition on top. I was thinking, just as I ran the race in my head, that that she was supposed to maybe get a little bit better trip and move a little bit more forward. And I really like Rosario on her. So but I mean, it's splitting hairs. Obviously, Venti Valentine has the exact same profile, and I'm going to keep on side. For verticals, I thought that Morning Matcha was a little bit interesting. I fully expect this to be a two-speed number with Classy Edition and Venti Valentine, and I think Morning Matcha Closer will be against the flow of the race. But cherry picking her form, she's not bad, and I think we'll be finishing well. So if you want a third for your trifecta, and maybe I'd use a penny to use Morning Matcha to split those two in the try as well in the event that somehow, and I do not anticipate them dueling and weakening late, but sometimes that happens. One cracks a little bit and Morning Matcha can pass. Those are some smaller bets I'll make, mostly though, like Steven, focusing on the 5 and the 6 on top in those horizontals. We close things out with the Bayshore Stakes for the 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And Steven will ask you the key question when it comes to this Wood Memorial Day Pick 6. How are we going to get paid?
If I can end up alive to 5 horses in the Bayshore, I'll be perfectly happy. I think half the field can win, and half the field is overmatched here. So I'm going to try to get alive to the 1, 5, 6, 9, 10 in this race, and if I had to pick, 2 of them to lean on, I would go with the 6, Highly Respected from Chad Brown, and the 9, Wit for Todd Pletcher. This whole sequence, there's a lot of Todd and Chad. I mean, it really is the big guns are back from the South in here. I thought Highly Respected's debut, although he didn't, really take a nickel. I mean, you don't get too many Chad Firsters winning off at 7-1. I thought he ran very, very well, and it's a strong debut figure. Normally, you're a little leery of horses making their second career starts in graded stakes. This is as soft a grade 3 as you're going to see for these 3-year-olds. So I thought he was capable of stepping right up. And Witt showed some real talent as an early 2-year-old last year. He's been off since October, but Pletcher is so good at bringing these back off long layoffs. He may well just be the best horse in the race.
I think you've summed it up pretty nicely. I was going to dial in a little bit more on Dean's List, Highly Respected, and Wit. At the end of the day, Dean's List came out best for me. I was envisioning between the cutback and distance and presence of Rosario, just a perfect off the pace, stalk and pounce kind of ride for Dean's List. Highly Respected makes all the sense in the world. What a good debut run. And just based on that, could contend with this level of competition, let alone with normal second out improvement. And then Wit. So you took the words right out of my mouth. It's like you're reading from my notes, Flash the big talent and really deserves a chance given Pletcher's mark in these type of spots. So yeah, that's how I was going to see it. I was going to grade it a little bit with the 5 and the 6 as A's, with the 9 as a little bit more of a B. Sounds like you like it more 6 and 9 on the A line, 1, 5, 10 on the B line to close things out.
That's just about it. I do think that there's ample speed in the race. So, if at the last minute I need to save money or, can only get alive to 4 of them, a horse like From Another Mother, I just think is going to be pace compromised, being on the inside of a likely 3 or 4-way speed duel, to win that battle from the rail and still hold off, the likes of Highly Respected and Wit, I think is a little unlikely. So, he'd be the horse I'd drop if I decide to go bigger somewhere else.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Though I do really enjoy listening to you pronounce that horse's name.
Only way I can think of to say it.
It's exactly right. It just sounds funny. From Another Mother. Good stuff, Steve.
It's like that movie, Brother from Another Planet.
Oh my God, classic. John Sayles getting a call here on the In the Money Players podcast. One of my absolute favorite directors and a novelist as well. I don't know if you've ever read any of his stuff, but
no, I haven't.
Oh, really? I mean, just a fantastically talented guy whose body of work is definitely worth diving into for the film buffs out there. And that one, which I think starred Joe Morton, we need Andy Serling to tell us. He's the man when it comes to all film trivia.
That movie was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As was a lot of the sales work. I mean, just
Yeah.
a brilliant director. Well, this is great fun, and we'll have you back on as soon as you'll allow us to have you back on, because it's always a pleasure. Not only are the picks great, but just the way you analyze a race and the things you look at. I think you could listen back to this after the races are run, and from hearing your thought process, it's going to help them be better horse players in the future. So thank you.
Or they'll decide that we're a pair of idiots who made a bunch of bad picks.
Both can be true.
That is true. It's like Schrodinger's cat. We don't know yet.
Thank you so much, my friend. We'll be talking soon.
Thanks, Pete. Enjoyed it.